Hello fellow animators, welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy the intro there. That is what I have been working on in the last 3 videos. It turned out pretty good. Sound effects and everything included. The voice work done by yours truly. It's terrible, I know. Don't worry, I'll fix that later. But yeah, it turned out alright. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to be moving on to run cycles. Yay! Hurrah! I actually really like run cycles. I think they're fun to do. You know, it's fun, snappy, fast animation. That's what I like. So let's animate. Alright, so step 1. Let's do a design. Bam! Design done. So I did this on my lunch at work, and I just wanted a simple design. I went for a little goofy guy. I did go through multiple rubbish designs until I landed on something I like. And I draw on paper because I like having the physical copy in front of me so I can pin it up on the wall. I just, you know, it's convenient. I can sit down watching TV or on my lunch and smash out a couple of characters, see what works, and yeah, it's good, I like it. So I settled on this guy. Let's start rigging him. So his name's Frank, and I rigged him over a couple of evenings, probably about 6 hours in total. I'm not going to go into detail though. I did that in another video, and I think I bored all 17 viewers to death. But yeah, let's start animating him. And first we'll start with his up pose. An up pose is when the character is, well, up. He's at his highest point and there's no feet touching the ground. It's the pose that's the most obvious within a run cycle. And it's the key I like to build my runs around. While we're at it, let's talk about the poses that are needed for a run cycle. So you have the contact down, the pass, and the up. And then you go into the contact for the other cycle on the other side. Alright, let's continue. So I'm going to use the deformers to get a bit of shape on the leg. And on his shorts, you want to make sure your character isn't too stiff looking. And that's why deformers are there, to make your character a little bit more malleable and less wooden looking. So I'm going to work on the face now. I want to give him a slightly... I mean, he is a bigger guy, so he's going to have a slightly tired look. He's going to be wincing a little bit. I don't want him happy running. I mean, who is jogging and running and happy at the same time? Definitely not me. So I'm going to do that. Change his eyes around, and I'm going to adjust his mouth. Okay, so now I'm working on the reverse up pose. I'm just taking what I had before, and I am adjusting the legs and the arms. Because it's the reverse pose, you're going to have the exact same height as we had in the first pose. Okay, so with the other hand now, on the other side, I have to draw another hand. So what you do is you duplicate the hand you have, and I'm just going to rough in a new shape. And then I'm going to draw a clean line on top and color it in. Boom. Okay, so I have both up poses working, and I'm going to tween between them. And along that tween, I'm going to find the other key poses. So right now I'm working on the contact pose. The contact pose is a good chance to create a strong key and to have a nice line of action, so you can feel the energy in the run. And you can have the character slow out of the up pose into the contact pose, and that will really sell the up pose for all the viewers to see. When I show you the complete run cycle at the end, you'll see it. I promise. So now I have the contact loosely worked out. I'm working on the... Oh, this is the passing pose. Okay. Now, in the keys I gave you before from the Rich Williams book, Animated Survival Kit, he has the up as the foot still touching the ground. I changed it around a little bit. I have the up as the one where both feet are off the ground. You can switch them around and make it a little bit different. You'll see in the other cycles I do in this video, they're all slightly different. So you'll see me in this video tidying up lines and connector points a lot. That's just to neaten up the posing and to make sure there's no loose bits. You know, I see a lot of animation that has like loose sort of bits of drawing that are poking out, and it makes an animation look kind of a bit rubbish really. So you want to try and clean up your drawings as much as possible. Okay, so you can see here that the runners coming along. It's pretty good. I loosened up the arms and I had them drag back and forth when they move. And yeah, it's working not too bad. Alright, I'm going to move on to the eyes and I'm going to tighten up the head. And then we're going to be done this one cycle. Then we'll move on to the next one. So this is just a standard run cycle. I should have said in the beginning, this is a standard run cycle, and this is what I would use working in the studio. Usually there's reuse animation, and there's a folder you can take animation from. Sometimes you have to remake your own run cycles, and the ones I would do at work in the cartoon I'm working on right now would look something like this. Pretty standard. Sometimes the director would ask you to make run cycles for the other animators to reuse for their shots, and depending on the style of the show, it could look something like this. Like I said, this is just a standard run. Okay, so I'm just adding some twist on the head. With the drag on the hair, it should look nice and loose. But I'm done here for this one, so let's take a look at what I came up with. Okay, yeah, here it is. It's looking pretty good. See how the arms are nice and loose, and the feet has some stretch on them when they slap on the ground, and there's some drag on the head and the hair. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, moving on. Alright, this is the second run cycle. So in this one I'm going to mess around with 1s and 2s a bit more. It's going to be mostly on 1s. I think it's entirely on 1s actually. When an animator puts some animation on 1s, okay, so there's 24 frames a second in animation. If you animate on every frame and you get 24 drawings, that's on 1s. You can get away with putting your animation on every other drawing, so every second drawing in animation, and that's called on 2s. Sometimes it's called singles and doubles, but when I was in art college we were taught 1s and 2s, so that's what that means when I say that. The previous run cycle I did, that was on 2s entirely. At the end of this video I'm going to have a side-by-side comparison and you can see the difference. Alright, so now I'm pulling up his arms and I'm gonna change his eyes a little bit as if he's looking behind him, running away from something. When I'm posing out his arms here, I want to have a nice straight line on top and curves on the bottom. That's called straight versus curves, and it adds a certain amount of appeal to your character. This is really important actually. Appeal is one of the principles of animation, and having straights versus curves is a great way to sell a drawing and make it look more appealing. Okay, so I'm roughing in some more hands here. They're going to be sort of clawing forward as if he's trying to grab forward to try and get away from whatever it is. And I'm going to do that for both hands. And then I will again clean it and color it in. And now I'm going to redraw the mouth. And I'm going to have a clenched teeth kind of mouth. He's scared, so obviously he's going to be clenching. So I'll rough that, clean it, and color it. Done. It's weird seeing the recordings of me animating this stuff, because when it's on screen and you see individual frames, sometimes they don't look that good. But once you play the animation you've done and you can see it moving, a lot of mistakes you make that you can see on the individual frames seem to disappear. It's a really weird thing, but a good thing, because then I can hide my silly mistakes. Alright, so now I'm working on the contact, and I'm having the back leg drag down and then through. This one's a bit more cartoony, so the legs are a bit more elasticated, so they spring down, hit the ground, and then they're only on the ground for maybe, I'm trying to remember, maybe 3 frames, and that's on 1s as well, so it's not very long. Now I am going back to the first run cycle, and I am taking a lot of the leg shapes and copying them over just to save me time. I think I did this run cycle in about, it was about 50 minutes maybe, so it was pretty quick. But yeah, you can see that I'm copying over a lot of stuff just to save me a bit of time. And then I'm adjusting the poses that I copied over. And that's a really good skill to learn, is to save time, not quality, but just to make sure that you are trying to pump out as many frames as you can, because in studio you have producers above you and they want their cartoon done on a deadline, and it better be done. So any time saved, just copying stuff over if you can, will really help you. Yeah. Alright, so now I'm flipping back and forth, making sure the animation is appealing, and it's looking not too bad. The legs are looking kind of springy, which is nice, I like that, and they're looking a bit cartoony, so that's cool. So I'm going to slow it down a bit here so you can see me flipping back and forth as I'm figuring out the feet and how they sort of roll through. And I want it on a nice arc. That's really important. Make sure your animation's on arcs, because if it's not on an arc and it's just a straight line from pose A to pose B, it looks very robotic and it doesn't look that appealing. Wah wah. Unless you're animating a robot, and even then you gotta be careful with that because it will look tweeny and rubbish. So pay attention to your animation. Okay, so I'm gonna add some drag to the arms here. I think I delete this later on, or I toned it down a little bit because it was popping and it was looking a bit too clunky. But I'm gonna add some drag to that arms going up and down, and to the hair. Okay, so I'm just tightening up this run cycle now. I'm coming to the end of this one. This one took me about 50 minutes to do, and let's see how it looks. Okay, it's a bit too snappy, but it's fine, you know. See how it looks smoother? By smoother I mean there's less choppiness to it. That's because it's on ones, and you can see that in the legs. But yeah, it works. Okay, so moving on to the next run cycle. This one is going to be a more jaunty, sort of joggy run. I'm going to really loosen them up with the shoulders, and he's going to have his eyes closed, and he's going to be very proud of himself. Sort of smugly running. Alright, let's do it. So I'm going to have less up and down on this run, and his legs are going to be moving laterally less. It's going to be a sort of cartoony, joggy jog. Makes perfect sense to me in my head right now, but, you know. Words aren't my friend, so you're just going to have to make do with what you got. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, so the legs, yeah, see how they're less, they're more tighter. See how the legs are tighter, and I have them closer to the body. They're going to be stretched out less. And that gives the illusion that he's jogging. And that's what animation is. It's just one big illusion. Hence the book, The Illusion of Life. Yeah, we're just tricking the audience into thinking that they're watching a person running, but really it's just a bunch of drawings that are moving around. It kind of blows my mind, actually, when you think about it. You're just like tricking people. I don't know. Anyways, back to the animation. I'm getting some twist in the body here. When you have a character running or walking, you want to get some twist in the torso. If it doesn't twist, it looks kind of flat and woody and boring. Yuck. Like the last run, I stole some leg shapes and poses from the run cycles I did before, just to speed up the process. This one took me about an hour to do, maybe. When you're copying and pasting leg shapes and poses and adjusting them, it's a lot quicker to do your animation. So here I'm just finding the in-betweens for the key poses. This one is on 2s as well. You can see at the bottom there, there's a space between each in-between, and I'm just working out the timing and spacing. And that's the good thing about 2D digital animation. You can sort out your timing on the fly. They used to have timing charts for traditional animation where they would work out the timing when they were doing the poses, and they would have a little timing chart on the side that looks like it's a line with little dashes, and they work that out beforehand. But with digital animation, you can just do it on the fly. It's brilliant. I went to a college that taught traditional animation, I didn't really get animation until they started teaching us digital animation. So yeah, I think my line weight, line quality isn't good enough for traditional animation, although I am going to give it another shot, which I will probably do a video on. I think you also have to plan a lot more when you animate traditionally, which I'm terrible at planning stuff, but I will do that eventually so we can all enjoy that together. So I ended up changing the in-betweens here, and I put a couple of the frames on ones. So one run is on twos, one is on ones, and one is on ones and twos. I definitely didn't plan that. It just turned out like that. But you know, it's a good example. So now I'm just adjusting the arms, and what I want to do is, because he's jogging, I want them nice and loose, and they're going to be kind of bouncy. So I'm going to have them with the shoulders sort of pop up and down as he's running, and it will give him a sort of bouncy feel. Okay, and to finish this off, now I'm just going to add some secondary on the hair, have it dragging and springing up and down, and let's take a look at how it turned out. Yeah, I think it works. This is my favorite one actually, and probably because I think the arms really sell it. There's a bounciness and springiness to him, and he's looking a little bit cocky, and I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, that's a win. I'll take that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Next up, I'm going to do some walks. Not with this guy. I have another build that I did. I'm going to re-rig him a little bit. He's a bit lankier, and you can see his limbs a bit better, so it'll be good for walks. But yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers!